few days ago, Trump announced his new tariff plan and the markets went wild. So far in the past few weeks only, the Nasdaq and S&P are down more than 15%, and on this video, I will break down what countries are being tariffed and what is the percentage of tariff that every country gets. I will talk about the companies that might be affected the most from those tariffs, and finally, I will share my point of view of how those tariffs affect the markets. So to understand exactly the situation, let's start by breaking down the tariffs. First, we've got something called the Universal Baseline Tariff. This is a flat 10% tariff on all imports from every country. It took effect in the 5th to April 2025, and the idea here is to protect American manufacturing and reduce trade deficit. I will use the term trade deficit several times in this video, so let's make sure we understand it. Trade deficit is when there is a country that exports goods to the US more than it imports goods from the US. For example, if China exports goods valued at $1 million to the US, while the US exports goods to China valued $500,000, that means the US have a trade deficit with China. So the whole idea behind those tariffs is to fix those trade deficits. In addition to the universal baseline tariff, Trump introduced the reciprocal tariffs. That basically means that a lot of countries are now facing tariffs ranging from 11% to 50%. And that's because either the US has trade deficit with those countries, or those countries are involved with something that Trump calls unfair trade practice. An example of unfair trade practice is when a government subsidizes a local company, so the company will be able to sell its products in a very low price, making it attractive for other countries, so the other countries buy the product from the companies overseas instead of buying from local manufacturers. So for example, when China's government pays a lot of money to their own companies, those Chinese companies can manufacture products and sell them very cheap, and that gives the US importers incentive to buy from China instead of buying from local manufacturers in the US. So Trump trying to attack that as well. Let's see who is getting affected the most. China took a hit of 54% tariff, the European Union got 20% tariff, and Canada and Mexico 25% tariff. Also, there are specific industries that got tariffed with a high percentage. For example, steel and aluminium got a 25% of tariff, and the automobile industry got a 25% tariff as well. So now let's think which companies are getting affected the most and what are the implications. So for example, approximately 35% of the parts that are being used to build Tesla cars are being imported from China or Mexico. So Tesla, for example, could be looking at additional cost resulted from all those tariffs that are being applied, and that means more production cost for Tesla, and those costs might be rolled to the customers. And it's not just Tesla. Ford and GM are also facing rising costs because of steel and aluminum tariffs. All of those costs are likely to be rolled to the customer. Also, Apple is especially vulnerable because a lot of their services like AirPod, Apple Watches, and even iPhones are built in China. Also, HP, Dell, and Microsoft are using other countries to build their laptops, so they are in the same situation. And for example, Best Buy, which sources about 60% of their products from China, could be forced to raise prices as well. That means that there is a huge fear that consumers will buy less because companies will be forced to increase prices of their products. And when consumers buy less, that means the economy will slow down and eventually the economy can enter a depression. So that's it for today's update. I hope you enjoyed the video and I will see you in the next one.